Hello everyone. If you've seen the demo video of the Unreal Engine 5 tech demo, you've probably already know that this is something very promising, especially when we know this ran on the PlayStation 5. So if you plan to buy the PlayStation 5 console, you can see that, well, you can keep your expectations high. But in this video, I want to talk about graphics. So, when you see a demo video like this, you're just blown away by the photorealistic rendering. And the question is, why we actually want or even need to have such high graphic fidelity in games. Even right now, I'm playing games that look far less impressive, but I still enjoy them a lot. And sometimes I remember playing games that looks amazing, but I actually didn't enjoy playing them. So I'm going to share some of my thoughts about why graphics are important, and not just for games, by the way, for other type of digital entertainment, and why actually companies focus on improving the graphics fidelity all the time. So the first thing is immersion, and by that I mean that the person who played the game feel like a kind of a deep mental involvement in both the gameplay and being part of the environment, the rendered environment. And this is especially true now with virtual reality already becoming a very popular medium to deliver different type of gameplay experiences and other type of entertainment experiences. As the digital medium continue to evolve, we can find there's a high demand for people who want to tell their stories, but want to do this in a certain way and not be limited by the technology. They want to create big, beautiful worlds with lots of details, with beautiful, realistic lighting, and really create kind of those experiences that they always dream of, but in many ways they were limited by the technology of the time. I'm sure many of you want to see some improvements in open world games. You want to see those games, the world in those open world games more populated, more detailed. And this is something that actually can be done with this type of advanced graphics engine. So instead of seeing game designer deciding to go for maybe a desert scene or a sea scene because you don't need to populate it with many items, so you kind of change the direction in order to create something that looks expensive in terms of space, but it's kind of empty. Now we can even imagine you can create jungles and very detailed caves like you see here in this tech demo, that in the screenshots of the tech demo. And of course you can combine this to create like a beautiful, rich environment that has jungles, has really detailed caves like you see here. You can create really beautiful and amazing worlds. Now the other thing I want to see is more details. And when I'm talking about details, I'm talking about the same thing that actually Epic Games demonstrated in the tech demo. And this includes high resolution textures. So for example, you remember when you get to very close to certain 3D models, you can see sometimes the textures are blurred. So in this case, it won't be like this. They're actually using 8K or 8K textures in the tech demo. And just so you know, again, this ran on the PlayStation 5. This was a real-time, playable, fully playable demo running on the PlayStation 5. The other thing, of course, is having very detailed 3D models, as you can see here, and this is just gorgeous. So you create very detailed environment without actually using different kind of cheat things like UV mapping, something you can actually mimic depth. We can actually have real depth. You can see that using the Unreal Engine 5, we were able to create very, very detailed environment. You look at the rocks. I've never seen anything like this. Usually you can see this everything optimized with low poly models, not low poly models, but lower amount of polygons. And of course this leads to the environment to be less interesting to look at. Now look how many rocks out there. Look how many different formation of rocks. The entire environment just looks amazing. And because of this support for very high detail 3D models, this means that developers can actually scan real world locations and actually replicate them into the game so they look almost the same. So again, very detailed environments. And of course, this can be true to many other games, not just open world games. You can just benefit from it for any game that you want to create more details and make the game visually more impressive. Now, one of the other goals for game engine developers is to create an engine that can produce photorealistic rendering. And we are very close to seeing worlds that look almost completely realistic. Of course, there are ways to improve this, and I've heard in the interview with Unreal Engine developers that mentioned that we are already there, but there are some things that require probably another generation in order to become better. Like for example, when dealing with water and waves and stuff. So this is probably gonna look better. You need to wait for the next gen, but already now you can see it's very hard to tell when you look even on those screenshots if they are real or actually digitally generated. Now, when I look at these screenshots, of course, I cannot ignore the fact that the world is moving into using very advanced technology related to augmented reality and virtual reality. And the thing is that when we mix the digital with the real-world environment, we can benefit it greatly if we can deliver rendering that looks photorealistic. So when you combine the two things, you can actually, when wearing, for example, mixed reality glasses, you won't be able to tell what is real and what is not. Like the two realities are going to mix seamlessly together to create really unique experiences. So it's not just true only for games, but for different type of futuristic entertainment mediums that are already starting to evolve in the present right now. Now, this is a huge topic, and of course companies try to aim towards it, to have an engine that will fuel this type of immersive experiences for both mixed reality, virtual reality, and augmented reality. And this is something, of course, that we're going to see a bit more in the future, but companies are already now trying to imagine how things would be and try to make sure that the engine will support this type of experiences. I personally can imagine like being in such a world in virtual reality. I mean, just imagine just companies replicating real world places, and you can just move them. They look totally realistic, and you just walk through them and you feel like you are abroad. And you can even see real world objects kind of morphing in front of you, and the morphing itself looks so realistic because the engine supports such a realistic rendering, and you can actually like play a game outdoors which completely change and play with the environment. Now, when you release such an advanced game engine like the Unreal Engine 5, you help creators create things that they weren't able to create before. You basically expand their creative possibilities. So this means now there's less limit, and not just this, developers can actually come up with ideas, different ideas that weren't possible before, and we might discover them in the near future, like many new game genres that weren't there before this technology actually was introduced. Now, the thing is also that when you have this advanced technology, you allow creators to create unique gameplay experiences. I remember, for example, vegetation, kind of vegetation engine, when a player actually move in the environment and the flowers or bushes kind of move, or trees, branches move to the sides. And I remember this actually being used in games to create stealth gameplay that evolves around moving in the environment between those trees and bushes. So for example, with such a very detailed environment, you can create like maybe a climbing game where user need to put their legs and hands into a certain location. It's going to procedurally generate really advanced like mountains, hills, and the user will actually need to climb those. It's going to be maybe good for a virtual reality game, having such technology. So you can actually maybe replicate like a real world environment and actually see how people actually can climb it just using virtual reality controllers. It could be really interesting. You can combine some gameplay elements that actually react to light, what we've seen in the tech demo, where the bugs actually react to the light itself. So when you actually put the light, the bugs actually run away from it. So kind of create a game where the light, plays a significant role, like as you can see here in this image. Just imagine a shooter game where you can actually shoot different areas just to make some areas darker, so you can hide, for example, maybe from predators. Well, you get a point. All right, next one. Now, of course, if you see such a detailed environment, you're going to see very detailed and believable characters as well. Now, this is something I'm looking for a long time, to be honest. And I remember some really companies that did it so bad. But when I meet an NPC, for example, or just a friend who represented as an avatar in the game, I really enjoy seeing something that look realistic, so I can actually see the face expression really nice, and just the face structure and the skin looks realistic. And this is something I'm looking forward to in games which actually want to look photorealistic. So also I want to see the character look realistic, and this is something that is going to be very interesting to experience for the first time. Like really, I'm talking about like almost completely realistic. Now, even now we are very close to it, but still I felt like, something is missing, and I do hope that now with Unreal Engine 5, the way it renders lighting and the way it was able to support high polygons environments and 3D models, we'll be able to see this next step coming in. And if you look forward into the future, we can see that there are going to be many social experiences that involves connecting people together, and of course avatar is going to be something special. Of course there will be those who are actually going to look cartoonish, and people will decide how they actually want to look, but some of them are going to be really cool if they're actually looking photorealistic. And I'm sure there will be games and experiences that will be able to replicate your own face and bring it into the game, your own body, and you're going to look very, very realistic, like they say you look in real life. Now, this is not directly related to game, but this is something I want to see. I want to have, for example, like a tool, maybe using my phone, and I want to be kind of a 3D-scan the environment very quickly. So in the future, we're going to have technologies, we can do it very quickly. You can just point a very small device, and you might do like a very quick deep scan and create a replica of a very large scale. And you can just use it in order to maybe populate some areas in a point cloud online, or you can just create game assets like this. So for example, I just want to go outside and just copy paste a certain part of the world in front of me, maybe the entire 360 degrees around me, the entire area, and just bring this asset into the game or into any experience that I'm actually making. Now it sounds funny, right? But if you look, the technologies, how we're going to advance, this is something that will be possible. I can just, even in my room, I can just use a device and create a 3D model of it like instantly in the future. And I can just bring it into a game or into any experience and just present it, maybe share it with other people. And if a game supports such very complex, high poly environment, and photorealistic lighting, so I can just capture it using an app, and it's probably going to even measure the illumination, and I can just bring anything that looks like I'm actually seeing it with my own eyes, but in the 3D experience itself. So definitely these type of advanced capabilities of graphic engine can benefit many different type of experiences that we can see in the not so far future. And to fuel those and the other third-party apps that will probably enable us to import these movie quality assets, we'll need an engine that can actually support it. And right now, of course, we have tools that can do like replicate things, but they're very expensive, they're not very accessible to the consumer. But in the future, it's going to be like like maybe in your HMD or in your phone, it's going to be like so fast. I think phones won't exist by then, maybe. But again, this is something to be very, very accessible. And in the future, right now I'm actually in my room, like working in front of the laptop. But if I just want to work, for example, in an environment that I really liked, for example, maybe it's like a nice lake in Canada, I can just replicate it, and then I can use my HMD, my mixed reality, and can just feel like I'm actually walking there, because render the environment that we're actually copy pasting from that lake in Canada and just draw it in my environment and actually feel like I'm actually there. Now, I already talked about mixed reality, but you know, AR cloud's kind of a replica of the real world. It just lives online, and you can have like a virtual replica of the real world. Now, game engines should be able in the future to access the data of in the AR cloud and be able to maybe import certain assets, and we are talking about real world replicas, so we're going to be very detailed. So if they support such a very detailed environment, you can actually import those parts of areas in the AR cloud into the mixed reality experiences that you're actually creating. Virtual reality, augmented reality. And if you want to use it in game, maybe this is something you can do as well, because you're going to be kind of replica, maybe going to be APIs. So you can, for example, if you want to import the area in, for example, in Plaza Catalunya in Barcelona, and you want to create it, use it in your game, so you can just select the area and just import this asset, 3D asset, from the AR cloud and actually use it in the game. And of course, in time, the entire world will actually be replicated virtually and is going to be updated regularly. Maybe you will be able also to create kind of a game that uses the real-time data, and you can actually walk into the world, and just this data is going to be streamed into your HMD or into your game, your computer, in real time. So those very detailed environments will actually exist in the game. You're just going to stream the data from the AR cloud, and you can just walk in any place you like. So for example, if you want to create a game that takes place in Paris, you can actually do this. You don't need to go and shoot everything. You're just going to use the replica that some AR cloud providers will provide, and you can stream the data and allow players to actually play the game in a real world location as it actually look right now. And if we take many years further, it's going to be in real time. So if, for example, if there's a change in the environment, you're probably going to see this right now. For example, if I'm in the pyramids in Egypt, and like there's a rock on the right side, yeah, and not rock, like a structure, and this structure is removed, you're probably going to see this reflected in the game, maybe even in real time. So imagine game developers not even needing to create those assets. You just can stream it, import it into their game, and use any location on Earth to do this. And when we get, you know, finished with the surface, you're probably going to go underwater. Maybe you're going to see caves, kind of not caves, like underwater areas where you can actually create kind of a diving game. You know, something can happen underwater. So it won't be just on the surface. It might be we're going to map things that actually underwater as well. And of course, if you just wish to walk abroad and just go to a certain location, you can do this as well. So you can just walk. I think Google will do this, you know, kind of a street, not street view, but street view style, but you can actually walk anywhere you like. And if you do this in virtual reality, so just imagine the experience, and everything looks photorealistic, and you can just travel anywhere instantly. And if you have this technology available for game developers, my God, just imagine the possibilities. Now, you also need to understand that companies, for example, like Epic Games, are looking way to the future. And of course, some things are probably told to us and some things are kept in secret. But the thing is, they need always to look forward to see where they actually, you know, this market is moving to. And with the current mixed reality, augmented reality, and virtual reality technologies, you can definitely see there's going to be a major shift in the near future. Now, right now it might not look obvious. We are now focusing on the PlayStation 5, and this is kind of, you know, the focus right now. But those companies look way into the future. So the big jump that you see here in terms of visual fidelity is not just important for, you know, next-gen consoles. This will be important also for maybe filmmakers, different type of content creators, artists, etc. So the game engine won't just be used to create like games, but any different types of interactive experiences Those we can actually foresee in the future, in the near future, and those we actually even don't know about. So I think even Epic Games, when they deliver such a very advanced graphics engine, can't actually know everything what actually content creators will create with it. That might come up things that we don't even know about. But the thing is that you need to have a future-proof product. And when it comes to 3D, you want to completely make a revolutionary product that enables this type of experiences. And you can clearly see that this is what Epic Games wanted with this engine, because they created an engine that is way far ahead from everything we've seen so far. And I'm sure that this demo wowed everybody who actually seen it. So this is not just a next-gen gaming engine. This is a next generation, probably even several generations ahead, content creation platform that many different content creators, artists, games developers, cinematographers, we can benefit from it. Storytellers will be able to tell stories like never before. So anyway, these are some of the things that I wanted to share, but overall you can see that there's a lot of reason to have high expectations when you look forward to what creators will be able to create with the new Unreal Engine 5. And not just this, I actually put my trust in Epic Games that they will be the ones who will be able to develop the tools which enable us creators to create those next-gen experiences that we imagine, and those actually we just can't imagine just yet. These type of tools, when you just look at them, they just kind of expand your circle of knowledge and understandings, and allows you to think of ideas that you might haven't thought before. In some ways, it will enable you to create kind of futuristic experiences that nobody even thought of. If I tell you try to think about how things will look 200 years from now, you probably won't be able to do this. But the thing is, when you have such an advanced technologies, it kind of expands your circle of knowledge, and you're trying to, you understand more about what you can actually create when you have these advanced tools in your hand. So maybe some ideas will pop up where, way before you actually kind of locked, because you know the limitation of the technology. And I think you're going to see more and more people using Unreal Engine 5 and enabling different type of experiences. And this, of course, will inspire other creators, and these things will go on and on and on. Eventually, we're going to see new type of games, genres, and new type of experiences popping up that we haven't thought about before. And this is kind of going to create kind of a wheel that will generate so many new, unique experiences. And this is, of course, due to the advanced technology. And this is why I was so excited to see what Unreal Engine 5 is capable of. Of course, for official information, please go and visit unrealengine.com or Epic Games website for more information about this new engine. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you do, please don't forget to like and even consider subscribing. And if you want to get notification, press the bell button so you get notified when I upload new videos. I hope you enjoy this one. I'll see you in the next video. Bye everyone. Cheers.